Hello Channel NITT viewers, I am DS, your psychologist, and welcome to another episode on Channel NITT. So we have already completed the 16 MBTI types for the ENTJ compatibility series. So this episode is a consolidation episode. I am going to represent the ENTJ male and choose the top 8 MBTI types that I feel are the most compatible with the ENTJ. However, as a disclaimer, every ENTJ could have different preferences due to their personal experiences. So I have generated this list of 8 MBTI types most suitable for the ENTJ based on a few factors. My personal observation, my attraction to these MBTI types, and how comfortable I am with these MBTI types and around these MBTI types. So types that are too boring, too needy for evidence, too tunnel visioned are not attractive to the ENTJ at all. So this essentially eliminates a lot of MBTI types.
Means Vanessa, you're out.
So if I do not find myself comfortable around these MBTI types, I am really going to be very hesitant and reluctant to share more of myself. And you will not be able to find these MBTI types in the top 8. Generally, as an ENTJ, I much more prefer the J types to the P types because I find the J types more reliable, and reliability and consistency and predictability is a very important part for the ENTJ to consider if they are considering a lifelong partner. So just to give you a heads up, while looking at my list of 8 top MBTI types for the ENTJ, I found 6 J types and 2 P types. Want to guess what the 2 P types are? So let's get started. Right at the number 8 position is the ESFJ. How did the ESFJ end up in this position? If you have watched my ESFJ ENTJ compatibility episode, I mentioned that I'm totally indifferent with the ESFJ, which means to say I am open to having a relationship with them even though I believe that their FE is too much for me. So the ESFJ is on the 8th position because down the number 9 position all the way to the 16th position, I found all the MBTI types either too boring, too fussy, or too self-interested. A lot of things that I personally find that as an ENTJ I may not be able to integrate myself to the life of this individual. So ESFJ is okay for me. One problem I personally have with the ESFJ is that they are too blockhead. They just want things done very systematically, and this is a potential problem between the ESFJ and the ENTJ. Okay, moving up to number 7, we have a P type, and that is the ENFP. While I do find the ENFP really flighty, they seem to be everywhere, but one observation that I have made with the ENFP is that those ENFPs that I know are really very faithful and happily attached or married. So even though the ENFP can have a lot of ideas and can't seem to settle for one, they seem to be able to remain faithful to a partner, and that is something that I value. So, good. ENFP is number 7. However, number 7 is not a really good position because I think there are a lot of communication issues between the ENFP and the ENTJ. Ultimately, in the long run, there might be problems. Moving on to number 6, we have the INFJ. Now personally, I do find the INFJ very interesting, curious and attractive. I would really want to get to know an INFJ better. So I am very willing to want to talk and communicate with an INFJ. However, when an INFJ becomes a partner for the ENTJ, the communication seems to become a little bit mysterious. So as spoken in the INFJ episode, they might not want to tell you things directly, and this can be very frustrating for the ENTJ because this communication type is so inefficient. If you want to eat something, just tell me, I'll buy for you. Don't need to hint. So the MBTI type that I have ranked as number 5 is the INFP. So I have personal experiences dating and living with an INFP. I find it okay, except that the center of attraction or the center of the relationship is always encircling around this INFP. Of course, there has really been very pleasant moments. I would really think that in a relationship, maybe the ENTJ should share the center stage. Well, before I disclose the top 4 positions, let me have an interlude over here. Basically, for the ENTJ, they really value TE, and for me as an ENTJ, I also place a lot of emphasis on my NI. So sometimes I would rather sacrifice my TE than sacrifice my NI. Sounds surprising. So because I place so much value on TE and NI, so my natural nemesis would be TI and SE. So any individual displaying too much of TI and SE is not very helpful in an ENTJ relationship. Either I will have to turn a blind eye to it, and I can't turn a blind eye for long, or I would have to condone it. So what I'm going to disclose now would be the top 4 positions. I find that these 4 MBTI types are the most comfortable I am with when I'm around them. Number 4 is the ENTJ. So ENTJ compatibility is really possible. It's just that there might be a power struggle at times, but we all understand this because we are both ENTJs. An ENTJ relationship is like the whirlwind, as I have described in the ENTJ episode. Of course, it will be much more better if the other ENTJ that is dating me is also somebody who is into MBTI. So we will be able to understand each other even better. Number 3, we have the ENFJ. Whenever I'm with an ENFJ, I just feel very happy and I feel very ready to share myself. The ENFJ sometimes may give me opinions or judge me. However, most of the time, they are also really willing to listen to my point of view. So I find this a very pleasant experience. I am also very amazed by the ENFJ's ability to lead and to spearhead activities. So good for you. So together we can really make a power couple. Okay, now we are at the top 2 positions. I really have a huge problem trying to decide my number 1. Although most people would think that my number 1 would be an INTJ, because in a lot of my previous episodes I have openly indicated my affection for the INTJ. However, the INTJ can be a really hard nut to crack. They may take a very long time to pursue, and they may take a very long time to open up. And this courting phase can be really very stressful for the ENTJ. This is especially true when the INTJ is not informed about MBTI at all. So they do not know what cognitive functions are, so they do not even understand themselves. However, if we have an INTJ who knows cognitive stacks and now is able to understand and accept themselves and the people around them, then this would have been a much better pairing with the ENTJ, because they know that they can depend on the ENTJ. In the ENTJ episode, I have also mentioned that the ENTJ and the INTJ should be able to understand each other very well, because their cognitive stack is actually the same. They have cognitive functions that are very similar, except that my co-pilot is your dominant function and your dominant function is my co-pilot. So in view of the very difficult times during the courting phase for the ENTJ with the INTJ, I am going to put INTJ as number 2. Of course, courting the INTJ should not be a huge challenge for the ENTJ if the ENTJ is very motivated. But sometimes this can take a very long time, especially hard when the INTJ ghosts you. Okay, number 1 for me is the ISFJ. So the ISFJ is a perceiver, so this means that they are very slow to judge. I also like that we have very different cognitive functions so that we can learn a lot from one another. The other interesting thing is my dominant function is your blind spot, and your blind spot is my dominant function. I am so weak in SI, so you can really help me with my SI, and I can help you with your TE. More importantly, I'm also amazed by one thing. You really know where to find discounts. ISFJs. So I've been talking to some ISFJs. I said, I want to buy a bed, I want to buy this, I buy that. Immediately they can tell me, okay, you can buy from here or there. And when we go out, they can even haggle. And then, wow, something that costs $40 you can buy for $32. Great. The TE user, especially the ENTJ, just buys. Also because of the FE, the ISFJ can really make the ENTJ feel very loved. Of course, because of the very different cognitive functions that both these MBTI types have, they can really have a difficult time trying to blend in together. But challenge is nothing for the ENTJ. Are you willing to try? That's the question. So fellow ENTJs, how do you feel about my top 8 list? Does it correspond to yours as well? Comment below. Okay, I hope you have enjoyed this episode. If you have not subscribed, do consider subscribing so that we can bring you more ENTJ and MBTI. Okay, I'm going to sign off now and I'll see you in my next episode. Goodbye!